mentioning his name. He said, oh, today, we were doing a small grocery pack to be taken to the staff as help right across northern, western, so something little to help them go by during this pandemic time. And then when he was relaying his story, he mentioned this, gentleman who is our family friend. And he was relating his story. He said every time, because he's got a twin, yeah, he's got three, one girl and a twin, a set of twin. And every time he has to go out into this particular contractor, like if you come in earlier or if you arrive there early, they live in India, but he has to go to Toorak. If you arrive in earlier, then you manage to get a spot. And if you manage to get a spot, then you can work for that particular day and just for that day. But if you're late, you won't be able to. So for 2 straight weeks, he has been coming in late because he's traveling all the way from Nandi to go to Toorak. Just to backtrack on the historical of this family, very young. And, I'm talking about couple on the other side, but I'm also talking to you if you're still not married and you're still young, working and you're listening in, maybe part of this business house today, or have been following this program. And how you should approach your future and your plan. But this particular young boy, when he was in the mission, because we teach them, look, if you know you're courting, if you know you think it out. How many years you're going to be courting, get prayed over, and plan your life. And most of them, they've been doing that. But this particular young man, he had a very beautiful girl that they were prayed over. They were already prayed over, and then he was on attachment, on a mission work on another side of Viti level. And how mistakes happen. So something happened in the process, and he was left with no choice but to marry this particular lady that he's with, minus the one that he was prayed over. And he's never had peace in his family. It's always fights and fights and fights and fights. It's always like forever we are calling to pray, or we are calling to counsel, or he'll come and stay with, in one of our properties for a while, and bring his children. And we are always having time for him, especially for the mission, because they go out from the mission, they became our family. For years, we stay together, they leave their home, they come and do God's work. And it doesn't end there. Even when they go and have their own families, he still have, time to look out, how are they coping. So when we meet up, we are checking on each other. As and when we come to the divisions where they stay. And they went to the northern, we helped him. They were separated for a while, like on and off. They went to the northern, we helped him as well. And one day he vibrated and said, okay, my wife is coming to study in Viti level, so we're moving back. And I said, okay, whatever you do, commit it to the Lord. You need to commit it to the Lord, because it's very close to my son and my daughter. So they moved back to Suva. And after a while, I think a few months later, one of my children came and said, do you know that he's moved back to India? Okay, what happened? He's not in Suva with the study. They said, no, the wife has got a flat and he needs to go back. So he took the children and actually stayed with his family home in one of the villages in Nandi. Cut the story short. So he travels on, and he's got a back problem. And he can stay out in the cold and he can stand up for a very long time. Yeah, he's got issues, but a very young boy. And whenever he tries to come in time to Lotoka for this job, he can't seem to get it. He'll always have to go back to Nandi empty-handed. And even when he goes out fishing the whole night, to try and find means and ways to raise single-handedly his children, his 3 children. And as our son was recounting, having this gratitude, saying this gratitude on this particular devotion night, and then he mentioned, he cracked, by the time, like everybody's just crying at home. And he said, and today, he said, for 2 straight weeks he's been trying, and every time he reached Latoka, he missed it. So most of the time he had to walk the distance, so the money that he has can take him back home to his children, and very young siblings. I mean, the children are very, very young, 2 years down. And he said, and then we were giving out the groceries pack, and there was one spare pack. And this spare pack, we were trying to think, on how to make use of it in the Western Division. And 2 names were offered, and one of the names was his. And he said, when we were looking at the names, my wife, my son's wife, or my daughter-in-law, looked at the 2 names and mentioned one of the names. And that was the name for this young man. And they took the grocery pack to him, to his family. So when he recounted and sent back his gratitude to, send